So today is all about body autonomy. So body autonomy to me means having the right to control um, my own body. So this is what we will be discussing today. First, we will define body autonomy. Then we will talk about the need for space and closeness. So what is this? There is a stage with the children where the phrase, leave me alone, get away from me, and then they slam the door. So children have the need for space and closeness. Then that's a call for us to respect their boundaries. And how do we do that? And then we're going to talk about relating all these to life skills. So what does it have to do with our reaction at home or in the classroom with what happens outside? And then we're also going to segue into the talk, so sex talk. So it might be a bit sensitive to some, but actually sex talk should start as early as when they're toddlers. So I will let you know more about this later on. And then since I'm an educator, I will let you know some activities, some books you may want to check out for children and for teens as well. And even a lesson plan. I will show you a lesson plan later of a sample activity that you can do with a classroom. Okay, so let's start. Um, so there, body autonomy to me means having the right to control my own body. So you also have that kind of body autonomy, right? And so children should have that same of right too. So, for example, a light example would be when you're in a family gathering and your child hasn't seen this specific aunt. Now you're going to tell your child, it's time to hug your aunt. Come on, you haven't seen your aunt in a long time. And then the child might feel forced to hug their aunt. Now, what does this entail for the child? What does instill to the child's autonomy to their own body? It means they must adhere to the other rules that adults impose on them. So when they are a bit older, they might follow that same concept in their mind. So it's a crucial concept that I believe children should be taught and understand, um, because when children know that they are in control of their own bodies, they are less likely to become victims of abuse, assault, or latter intimate partner violence. Moreover, they are more likely to feel empowered to disclose any abusive events that may happen to them. So this is hard to accept. But the reality is that abuse happens far too frequently, and statistics show that 1 in 3 females and 1 in 20 males will experience unwanted sexual contact by their 18th birthday. So that's a very saddening number. What's even more unsettling is that the people perpetrating this violence are often individuals that the child knows and trusts. So they are people around the neighborhood, might be at school. It's just someone really close, and we might not know about it until it has already happened. So, like in recent years, you may have noticed that there has been a lot of media discussion about abuse and assault, highlighting the prevalence of the issue. As an adult, I feel a responsibility to prevent abuse from happening to our children and to empower them to speak up if it does happen. In my opinion, one of the most important tools for the prevention of is teaching children about body autonomy. So it's an area where adults, myself and you included, often fall short. Sometimes, without realizing it, we force children into situations where their bodies are treated as the property of others. So, as a teacher, I recognize that there's room for improvement, whatever position you may have in a child's life. So, from knowing what body autonomy is to understanding, acting on it, and protecting it, it is our job as adults to guide children on how to be appropriate in the different stages of their lives. So for instance, just what I mentioned a while ago, for example, when family is visiting, an instinct might be to tell children to give hugs, even when they might not feel comfortable in doing so. So I've come to realize that despite my long-standing history with history with these adults, my children may see them as virtual strangers. I mean, they haven't seen these people in such a long time. And with the memory that children have, who they might see like this year, they might not remember in 2 years' time. So forcing them to hug um might make them feel uncomfortable. So it might be polite in our perspective, but in a child's perspective, it might be a little bit confusing. Why am I forced to have physical contact with this stranger that I do not know? So it sends a different message to their perception, right? So it's a heavy realization. So this lack of respect for body autonomy isn't limited to interactions with adults, but also extends to how we handle conflicts among children. So often we instruct them to apologize and give hugs when they're in conflict in the classroom, right? The first thing we do, say sorry to your friend, please, so that they can feel better. But a question to ponder is, what message does this convey to children? Forcing them to give a hug when they're not really willing to give a hug. I mean, they're not feeling it. So we're not really teaching empathy here. Excusing behaviors like, for example, a boy pulling a girl's hair, and then an adult may say, hey, don't worry, he just likes you, or he just wants to be friends with you. Or a girl would pinch you and you're like, that's just a part of being friends. She doesn't mean it, or when we say boys will be boys, it's it perpetuates a harmful idea about interpersonal relationships. So it all starts in their childhood. It's essential to teach children that those who truly like and respect them won't deliberately hurt them and won't force them into uncomfortable situations, right? So, on another note, children should be equipped with the idea of segregating safe people from potentially dangerous ones. Have you ever heard of the phrase stranger danger? Stranger danger, don't talk to that person. It's a very easy catchphrase for children to remember. But then we have to be conscious that not all strangers are dangerous, because for example For example, they might get lost in a crowd and all the people around them are strangers. So, if a person suddenly introduces themselves to your child, the child might mean, oh, the stranger might say, you know my name now, I'm not a stranger, you can come with me. Now, instead of introducing the phrase stranger danger, we should instead teach our children how to spot tricky people. So, in a sense, a child should be able to know or sense if something is off about someone. So, for example, let's go back to the previous example. If a child is lost, they should be able to look at a crowd of people and know which stranger is the best to approach. Is it a lonely man focusing on his phone and, crouched like this? Is it a mom with children, in a family setting? Is it a policeman that looks grumpy? Or is it, for example, uh, uh, a random woman that is dressed very, very nicely? What kind of people are not tricky for your child to approach and to help them guide them back to you? So they should be able to know these kinds of cues, and that's our job to introduce that concept to them. Unfortunately, tricky people might even include other children. Huh? Tricky people might even include other children who offer gifts in exchange for inappropriate actions. So, for example, you know how children are playing doctor already when they're about 6 to 7, when they're a bit curious about their friends' body parts, and they will be like, "Can I see what's inside your shirt?" And then they will show each other, and then sometimes it might feel unsafe for your child because they're not really as curious or as ready yet to know more about this kind of topic, and then it might feel unsafe, but then due to peer pressure they would show it, and then right after they would feel unsafe. So in a scenario like this, we have to let a child know that it's okay to approach someone that they actually feel safe with, and share instances like this so that they are less likely to be fooled by these tricky people. So it's crucial to observe how your child interacts with other adults, especially those who show heightened interest in children in general, or your child specifically. While most of these individuals may be harmless, safe adults with genuine affection for children or a desire to assist, it's essential to stay attuned to your child's cues. So pay attention to their body language and emotions. If they sense something off or creepy about the adult, it will likely be evident. So conversely, even if they feel comfortable and enjoy the company, all seems well. So that's what a gist of what body autonomy would be for children. So how do we bubble up their space? So what does bubbling up their space mean? It's protecting their space and you know knowing how to narrate the situation. So first, it starts with naming their body parts correctly, using the words penis, vagina, nipples, my bum bum. Let's not introduce them as cookie, my, words that are a bit vague. I don't really know what other words there are for English, but then for of course for my native language I would know. But we should teach our children the actual body part. So there's no right time to teach body parts. And there's no reason why you can't start pointing it out when talking even to the youngest babies. But just after the first birthday, to 15 months is already a good time to focus on teaching body part names to your toddler. Because by that time, most children can already point uh, to at least one body part when named. And by age 2, your child might be capable of naming many different body parts. When teaching them these, we usually start at the face, or his hands or her hands may usually touch his face, your face. Then you might start to introduce um these different words. So generally, babies and toddlers will touch their own genitals when they're naked, such as in the bathtub or while being diapered. And as an educator who works in childcare, so for context, I work in childcare. Basically, the children in our school go to school from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we take care of their meals, we take care of their toileting, their diaper changing, their nap time. So all of these I'm able to witness as an educator. So I can see that children really are curious about their body parts. Some boys may play with their penis. They find it a little bit funny to tug on it and stretch it. Some girls might open up their vagina and they would be like, they would have these very curious faces because I'm working with the 2-year-olds right now. So some of them they aren't really verbal yet. So they would be, they would show these curiosity. But we should not scold them or punish them for exploring. Why not? Some parents even choose to casually ignore self-touching or redirect a child's attention towards something else. Others may want to acknowledge that And while it's okay for kids to check out their own bodies, when we do see them do this, touching their private parts, pointing it out to you, even looking at other people's private parts, this is a good teachable moment for them to know that it's a private matter and not okay to do in public. So if they do want to explore and look at their own body, they must do it in private where nobody else can see, or only mommy and daddy and a trusted caregiver can see. It's good for parents to use the words um correct names for body parts, and it should be stated as a matter of factly with no implied silliness. So it shouldn't be a joke. We shouldn't be laughing or feeling a little bit giddy when we introduce it. It's just the way it is, like how an eye is an eye and how a hand is a hand. That way, kids learn to use them in a direct manner without feeling embarrassed. So, for fostering ongoing conversations about consent is crucial. Incorporating consent into everyday dialogues with your child helps build a foundation for healthy boundaries and communication. So let's go back to my example. I usually do toileting with children at school. That means changing their diapers, changing their clothes. Right before you change your child's diapers, even if they are not yet verbal, you must ask them first, or you must let them know that you're about to do something. For example, I am about to remove your shirt. I am about to remove your pants. We are removing our clothes in the toilet, and this is a private space. So, these are some of the phrases that I continuously repeat every day. And now that my children are actually talking, my students are actually talking, they're able to copy and mimic the same phrases. They know that they should not be removing their pants in the classroom or outside. They know that if they feel uncomfortable in their shirt, they should not be raising up their shirt and showing their tummy and their nipples when they are outside. They should say first, I want to remove my shirt. Can we go to the toilet? See, we should model consent by respecting our child's preferences, whether it's regarding physical touch or other interactions. So some children might say, I don't want you to help me. I want to do it by myself. Then you must let them do it by themselves. But also be there at the same time when, let's be age appropriate about it. Can a 2-year-old actually finish dressing themselves up by themselves? I mean, if you're in a quick hurry, sometimes it's not really ideal, right? You will go, you're really going to put the shirt on for your child, even if they want to do it by themselves. This is where boundaries come. Boundaries are not a request. Boundaries is something that you will do if they do not finish something. Like if you don't finish your shirt, I will help you put it on because we need to go. It's not put on your shirt. Come on, put on your shirt. You can do it. And then you do that for 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, you will feel resentful, angry because your child is unable to finish the task that they wanted to do initially. So as adults, we should know when to impose boundaries to our children as well when it comes to their body parts and their consent. Furthermore, let's start inquiring about their comfort with activities such as tickling and assuring them that it's okay if they don't want a tickle session or if they don't want a hug. Additionally, let's guide them on how to seek consent from others by presenting scenarios like choosing play activities or asking to join someone, like for example in the bus. By integrating these approaches into daily life, you not only promote a culture of consent, but also empower your child with essential communication skills. So when we're talking about tricky people, this is the catchphrase to remember. No, go, yell, and tell. So make sure your kiddo knows these four awesome words. So if someone tricky comes up or asks them to do something weird or they feel uncomfortable in, they can shout a big no. I mean, not really being aggressive, but show them how it is to be assertive, being polite, but being, assertive. Then it's all about going away fast, if needed, yelling for help, and most absolutely telling a grown up they trust what happened. So we should keep it cool. We should use our common sense and watch how our little one reacts. So it should be a child led discussion. We should listen out for any feelings, like that's a feeling. Also keep an eye on who's giving your child extra attention. But most of the time it's all just being smart and being safe in a world that's usually, you know, very scary. Kids 3 to 6 year old are more likely to play doctor, as mentioned a while ago. So many parents overreact when they see their children or hear of their children. Hey, I showed my private part to my friend. So heavy-handed scolding is not the way to deal with it. Often the presence of a parent is enough to interrupt the play, because when we scold them we introduce the concept of shame. So the next time they're curious about these body parts again, when they're a little bit older, they will feel a bit shameful, and they might not even remember why they feel shameful about, wanting to talk about the private parts, because they might not remember what you said, but they will for sure remember how they felt when they initially started talking about these private parts. So you may wish to direct your child's attention to another activity without making a lot of fuss when this happens. And then later on, when you're one-on-one with your child already, sit them down for a talk. Explain that although you understand the interest in their friend's body, people are generally expected to keep their bodies covered in public. So this way, you can set limits without, having made your child feel guilty. So this is also an appropriate time to begin to talk about safe touch and unsafe touch. So why safe and unsafe and not good or bad? Because good or bad has an implication of being, a bit scary for children, because that's already a big thing for them. If it's a good thing, it's a big thing. If it's a bad thing, it's a big thing too. Because that's the only words, for example, we use when we're talking about Santa. Are you good or are you bad? Then these are concepts that they understand, but we should introduce them the word safe or unsafe. We should tell kids that their bodies are their own and that they have the right to privacy. So no one, not even a friend or a family member, has the right to touch their private parts. And even a parent or a main caregiver needs to check with the child before they touch genital areas when they're washing, or when a child complains of pain or discomfort. And even medical staff like doctors and nurses will need to look. They still would have to ask for a child's consent. So kids should know that if anyone touches them in a way that feels strange, unsafe, or bad, they should tell that person to stop it and tell you all about it. We talk about safe and unsafe touching rather than good or bad, because this removes guilt from the child and keeps them from having to make a moral distinction about what is and what is not appropriate. Let's use age appropriate wording so you can discuss body safety without discussing sexuality. Example, nobody should touch you in an area where your bathing suit covers, or people should never touch other people or see pictures of other people that show pictures or videos of other people that show their penis or their vagina. And if you see these kinds of photos when you're, for example, browsing on your iPad or browsing through YouTube, because we will never know about the predators in the internet. So the child should feel safe enough to let you know. We should teach them the difference between healthy and unhealthy secrets as well. So for example, we should let them know that a surprise party is an okay secret to keep. but because it will make someone happy when told at the right time. But then secret touching is not okay. Like when an adult, for example, this is just a secret, but I'm going to feel up your chest. We should let them know that it's not okay. Because this is keeping a permanent secret from parents or caregivers. Let me just clear the drawings. What's drawing on the screen? All right. Now we talk about space and closeness. So have you ever heard of this phrase before from any child at all that you have been with? I certainly have. Like even in Zoom calls when the pandemic was on its peak, children would know how to get away from an interaction by turning off their cameras or leaving the chat. So they would usually say this one, get away from me, leave me. So there are three possible reactions to this. And one of those might be how when you're gentle. Have you ever heard of this um gentle parenting movement where they say a gentle parent is the best approach to approach to discussing things with a child? While this may be effective in other situations, in this situation it is not. So for example, when your child is already 10 out of 10 dysregulated and you will say, I'm staying because I will not leave you alone, you're feeling this bad, it's so long. Even an adult that is dysregulated might not be able to process this in such a big moment. Plus, you're not honoring your child's personal boundary, and they will have this idea that when they say leave me alone, it will have, like behind the lines. There's other meanings. And this gentleness in this situation, I'm not saying it's for all, but in this situation, this gentleness is focusing on the parent's need for closeness and control rather than respecting a child's need for space and distance. Another reaction might be to reject them and to shame, like boo-hoo, oh okay, then I'll leave you alone, I'll lock the door, you'll be alone here forever, and then you're going to slam the door. So if you're going to take this rejection personally from your child and you're going to respond in an emotional, immature way, it won't be helpful, not only in this situation but in all situations. Sometimes our presence is what's dysregulating our child, and that's okay. We should still respect our child's initiative for space. So we should take it as a good feedback that they know whose presence is serving them in the moment. So this is, developing their emotional quotient. They would know now when a person is not good for them at the time, and they know how to say no. It's just they don't know the right way to express it. Now, in this situation with heightened emotions and all, we should be the attuned parent. We could say, okay, I hear you. You need some space, and I'll be over there. Or whatever, when the child is a bit, if the child is a bit older, it could be a little longer. I'll be over there downstairs. I'll check in on you in a few minutes, and do check in on them in a few minutes. But if they're not comfy when you come back, you should confidently set another time where you can talk about it with your child. So you can say, okay, you're not ready now, but we can talk about it at bedtime if you're ready by then. If by bedtime they're not yet ready, you can say, okay, by tomorrow morning when we drive to school, that's the first thing we will talk about. You should catch the moment and explain to them what happened in the situation. So the approach emphasizes staying calm, showing them how to actively listen, validating a child's emotions without judgment, and reinforcing the message that all feelings are valid. By encouraging children to express their emotions without immediately trying to rationalize them, fosters emotional intelligence. These words coming out of your child's mouth are not meant to hurt you, but are an expression of what they currently need. And once a child realizes that saying no actually means no, they are more likely to ask you for comfort, for like a hug or a cuddle when they actually need it. So, providing simple coping strategies and distractions step by step helps avoid overwhelming the child. So, the guide also acknowledges the importance of taking a break when needed, communicating with transparency, and subsequent follow up discussions when emotions have settled. So, this comprehensive approach, being an attuned parent, um, aims to create a supportive environment, nurturing children's emotional well being and teaching them healthy ways to express and manage their feelings. So, if we're teaching children how to set boundaries for themselves when it comes in situations like this, we should show them how to appropriately react and which words to use so that on the next instances, they would know how to say it properly. Maybe they could say, I'm feeling angry right now. I don't think we can talk about it yet. Very simple. I feel angry right now. I don't think we can talk about it yet. Or I think I'm about to use my loud voice. We can't solve this together right now. Very simple. It doesn't have to be very long at the moment, but when they're, heightened already, it should be a very short phrase, should introduce them to a short phrase that they might be able to relate to, such as what I've been mentioned just now. But when do we stay close? Of course, we don't always leave them. We should, know more about the context and the behavior of the child. So if your child is incapable of being alone, don't leave them alone. If they're toddlers and they're, incapable yet of being in the room by themselves. For example, you don't have a baby monitor and the other room is a bit too far and your child is a bit too young, maybe your space will be at the other corner of the room. Then you can do parallel activities such as you can work on something like type something, so read, and then your child might be playing at the other corner. You should completely, the block the engagement so that they feel alone. When your student is dysregulated, so in a classroom setting, you can't leave your student alone. So it can be a quiet corner you can set up in the room when they're feeling a little bit aggravated. It could be the reading corner where you can put some pillows, make it a bit comfy. And when children are feeling a bit, too much, you can, do you want to, do you think it's time to sit alone and just breathe by yourself? Or if you're a teen, this is for the older ones, is prone to physically hurting themselves. So they might have seen other friends of theirs, start cutting their wrists or pulling their hair, pinching themselves, giving themselves bruises. If you know that your teen is prone to physically hurting themselves, you should definitely stay close to them, and not leave them unattended when they feel aggravated. You should be in that moment with them until they're able to calm down and let you know that yes, I can be safe by myself. So what are the life skills that will be a consequence of what we just talked about? So here are some ways you can teach your children to have a positive body image and develop healthy habits for life. So first is to here. First is to be a role model for your child. So children will mimic the behavior of the adults around them. If children hear you speak negatively about yourselves, well, this may be an influence into how they would see themselves. So I saw this wonderful video the other day that the poster said when she would complain to her mom about something in her body, her mom would say, "Well, that's a sign of beauty." And I think that's something we can catch. Like if I'm going to complain about, for example, my teeth look like a rabbit's teeth. Your child would say, "My teeth look like a rabbit's teeth. It doesn't look normal." Then you can say to them, "Hey, that's a sign of beauty." Then everything is a sign of beauty already. Even if it's something that doesn't look like them, it instills acceptance in diversity. That beauty doesn't come in one way only. Beauty can be found in everyone. Beauty can be found in yourself. So when you notice something, that's a sign of beauty. If you notice, hey, your hair is a bit too puffy today. Hey, my hair is too puffy today. Then they try to make it flat, right? Then you can say, that's a sign of beauty. Then it's already, it makes them, it's a very short phrase, but it eases their feeling about themselves. Or you can even use that with yourself. Then your child will already mimic it. They will already copy. To combat this, work at being the role model your children need to see. So aside from telling them about these signs of beauty, let's state positive things about ourselves and acknowledge that our imperfections are fine. So let's talk with our children about body diversity and why many media images are unrealistic. So we can even tell them that, this person looked different when they were young. But, in a non judgmental way, it's just as a matter of fact, this person did not look like this before because there are already procedures. If this is age appropriate to your child already, if they're already 10 or 11, you can already actually tell them that, this person only looks this way because they already had something done to their faces. And while it makes them confident, it's unrealistic for you to compare yourselves to them because their face is not natural anymore. So if you do so decide in the future to, follow the same path, then okay. But as of the moment, this is your natural face. And whatever it may be, these are all signs of beauty, my child. So we talk about these with our children about body diversity, um, in a positive way, in a non-judgmental way. If we notice that our children are struggling with body image, we should be a safe person that they can speak to. So we should change our attitudes towards physical activity instead of focusing on exercise as a way to lose weight. So for example, we run so that we can keep our heart pumping, and so when we grow older, it pumps normally, healthily, and it's able to keep up with, our weight as an adult. Or we participate in ball games such as volleyball, soccer, football, so that we can improve our hand-eye coordination, and not because we can be, for example, popular in school or be in the crowd. We should focus physical activity um as a way to improve our bodily functions, and not as to maintain a certain weight or a certain body shape. So we should tell them a physical activity helps our body reach its full potential. It improves our mood. It acts as a social activity or an artistic expression, and it can be lots of fun. So we try exposing our children to different ways of being active and engage their curiosities. So they might be interested in sports. If your children are concerned that they can't pursue an activity because of their size, because there are many comments, many snide remarks from school that your child might be hearing. So you show them how professional athletes come in different shapes and sizes, and that athletes are already in their shape because they continually do the physical activity already. So in doing these physical activities, your body retains a certain shape because to be able to do extreme physical activity, your body should build up muscle, should have a lot of weight. So we should tell them it's more of the function of the body rather than the shape and how it seemingly sees from the physical attribute. So aside from physical activity, we should develop a healthy relationship with food, moving away from good food and bad food. So it's the same as a while ago with safe and unsafe touch. So this is an important tool in improving your children's relationship with food. These labels create an anxiety around food and may lead to consequences including food restriction and feeling bad like a bad person because they've eaten a bad food. So for example, in your home, for example, you say donuts are a bad food. Then in a birthday party, they get to offer donuts. Then they will not eat the donuts because they think it will be bad for them. When it's just a treat for that day. So we should promote healthy eating by emphasizing how the nutrients in food help people become strong and healthy. So instead of focusing on calories, sugar, such as those, very overwhelming concepts for children, we should explain how vitamins and fiber um help their body. For example, the orange will help your gums, or nuts are good for your brain, or if your child wants to have a cookie or a chip, there's no need to shame their food choices. We should allow them to make choices about the foods they eat and also cultivate an environment where nutritious foods are available and appealing. So if your child is consistently, for example, craving chocolate, then you might have to wonder about your pantry at home. Maybe it's full of chocolate filled snacks. And now that you stop giving chocolate filled snacks, suddenly your child is looking for it because this is the taste that they are acquired to enjoy already. But if your child has a lot of, access to fruits, crackers, bread, um, they have different ways or they know already how to prepare food, at this age, at around 9 or 10, you can expect your child to make a simple PB&J sandwich for themselves. And if this is appealing for them, then provide these um, nutritional foods around the house. Make it available so that these are the things your child are accustomed to enjoy. So, teaching your children to think positively about themselves can help develop a positive self image that doesn't focus entirely on appearance and people pleasing. So, practice stating what positive attributes they have and what they are capable of becoming or doing. So, you can talk about what are some of the things that your children like about their bodies. Do they like their smile? Do they like how their body shapes them? I mean, helps them climb up a tree. You also don't forget your child's non-physical attributes like they're kind or they're brave, they're very talented. A very regular practice of saying affirmations can reduce negative self-talk and build your child's self-confidence. So in relation, um as parents, will encounter moments when our children are bringing up questions that might stump us. And it happens a lot. When talking about various shapes, sizes, and abilities of people's body, um, it's it's key to approach it in a way that's clear and respectful. So when you're faced with a question that you're unsure to answer, you try to start the conversation by explaining to your child that differences, including disabilities, are part of beautiful diversity in how bodies are unique. So you describe what they see and explain what this person's body or how this person's body is different from theirs. So we encourage this curiosity about other people, even disabled people, because it opens a conversation for our child and lets them know how to react appropriately when they encounter such people like these. So this way we lay the groundwork for empathy, and it helps kids see peers with disabilities through a lens of understanding, inclusivity, and respect. So by nurturing compassion early on, we help our kids grow into kinder and more caring adults. So here you go, the very controversial sex talk. So children may be exposed already to these now that there are a heightening level of iPad kids. So there are children who are just let to have iPads so that they can relax in a public setting. And even YouTube kids, for example, has, even if it's moderated, it has, if you really watch some of the videos, there are really disturbing ones where pornography and masturbation is already you know underlying in the interactions of the characters. So even if, for example, from afar you will see that the video is very bright, very colorful, the dialogue might not be as safe as you think it is. So we should start talking about this once your child is already prone to be exposed. So it's crucial to address the safe exploration of digital spaces, even if your child won't be navigating the internet independently for a few more years. We should establish guidelines on talking to strangers online, such as commenting on photos, commenting on videos, sharing photos of them. We know how children nowadays have their own Instagram accounts from when they are still babies. And then the parents usually hand it over to them when they're already able to type and navigate the phone or iPad by themselves. And we should guide them on what to do if they encounter anything uncomfortable. So while discussing these may not be necessary, you must be prepared for the possibility that your child might come across it. So this is an appropriate time to revisit discussions such as masturbation, as by age 8, many children begin exploring their bodies this way. So we present it as normal, but a private activity. And we don't forget to discuss proper hygiene as well. So we let them know that okay, you can touch it, you can explore it, but you may only do it in your room. You cannot do it when we're sitting at the table outside. You cannot itch your private parts, even if it's really itchy and it feels good. You cannot do it in a public space. And when you do so, you have to make sure your hands or your fingers are clean because you're touching a very sensitive part of your body. And it's an entrance to the inside part of your body, which may cause, you being sick. So explicit conversations also about sexual abuse may become relevant at this age. It's important for kids to be aware that this unfortunate reality to protect themselves or assist a friend who may experience abuse. The depth of this conversation should be tailored to your child's understanding, starting with basics like personal boundaries and revisiting the topic later to assess their comprehension and feelings. So, of course, you should keep on coming back to the conversation, adding on little by little. It shouldn't be one whole session and then you forget about it already. It should be a revisiting topic as they grow older, introducing even more complex ideas and instances to them so that they know how to act on it if they do encounter it when you're not around. So at around past 10, you may also consider explaining the mechanics of sex. This information can be introduced earlier if your child seems ready, or delayed if you think they may not grasp it. Using a suitable book can make this discussion more accessible, addressing your child's questions. So, discussions about these can coincide with conversations about puberty, when they already notice that their body parts are changing, that their shape or their clothes don't hug their bodies the usual way anymore. So we should maybe compare photos from when they were younger and show them that as your body grows older, it becomes different. Um, So a more detailed puberty talk is recommended just before your child or their peers are already starting to experience it. So even before they start becoming curious, like you know already like it's about to happen, you can start talking about it little by little and introduce them to the concept that hey, your body's going to change now and there might be some drastic changes that we're going through, and there will be some big feelings about it, but I will be there with you every step of the way. So understanding the impact of puberty should be an ongoing discussion, and children should learn not only about their bodies but also others. So understanding the range of um, gender is crucial, and starting the conversation by dispelling misconceptions and about determining someone's gender based on genitals is also a good approach if you want to introduce that to your child already. So here are some ideas for children. You might want to start with literature. So these are some books I found on Amazon for children. The first two rows are for children about 3 to 7, I believe. And the last um portion is for 8 to 11, around that range. So if they're already starting to be curious, you can just leave this at your library, by your school. Of course, you should check in with your administrators if they allow these kind of things, because different schools, different cultures, they have different rules about and regulations about these things. So you should ask your administrators if they allow you to introduce these kinds at school. If not, you can suggest it to your parents, to the parents you interact with. If a parent asks you, hey, what might be a good start introducing consent, boundaries, maybe talk about sex with my child in a very age appropriate way. So books are always a good idea. In the classroom, you can also follow up with a game. So this is a sample activity. A sample activity might be drawing themselves and then their body. So it could be like so, drawing themselves and then there's a body. And then inside their body, they draw what feels safe. Like inside my body, noodles feel safe. It is safe to me. But chili does not feel safe. So I will put chili outside. And so that is an unsafe object for me. So it can be food, it can be situations, it depends really on the age of your child. So um it depends on the age of your child. So it depends on how old they are, on how you're going to implement this activity to them. So you can keep the conversation going based on the specific issues your child will bring up in the discussion. So just by this simple activity, you will already have a gist of what children in your classroom feel safe and unsafe about. So use the drawing they made as a reference. You follow up and keep the conversation going, and maybe even reach out to the relatives if there is something very concerning. But if children are uncomfortable, they should not be coerced into talking about it if they're not yet ready, but we should let them know that there is a space for them in for them to spill. If they need to talk about it with a safe adult, you should let them know that you're available for this. So to end the talk, so that's everything for me. I'll end it with a quote for you guys. The best gift you are ever going to give someone is the permission to feel safe in their own skin. So I hope talking about boundaries for children, body consent, um, and boundary sex talk is helpful for us caregivers and mentors because we do hold a significant role in shaping their narrative around these subjects, and we influence our children greatly um, with how they perceive themselves, and this will really influence how they navigate relationships as they grow older and as they grow into the persons that they are. So I hope you enjoyed the talk for tonight.